The next poem, the title is important. The title is From My Tower, and that doesn't come in until the end of the poem, but please keep the notion in mind. The young are of the earth, barefooted test the warmth of spring, the roughness of concrete, lie feathered in mud, gulp deep of dust, see eye to eye with the violets, breathe lilac like oxygen. Siblings to earth, they run, skip, roll, fall in ecstasy, rise to fall again. Mud is for toes, wind for hair, hills are to climb, to see one's house from, to roll down. Magnets for dirt, they also have affinity for puddles. Stolidly, I don my rubbers, ride smoothly on springs and foam, demand an air-conditioned room, order my violets from the florist. My chair is contoured, the dish with the dust flecks rejected. I have status. I inhabit my tower. It's a bit of a contrast and maybe a bit of a tribute to what happens and maybe shouldn't happen to us as we age.
Whenever you're ready, go right ahead.
Now, I will read two poems written by Marvin Henry. Both are tributes to former residents of Westminster Village who were also well-known educators in Indiana with special affiliation to Vigo County schools. The subjects of these poetic tributes are Carl and Ann Riddle, delivered on two special occasions in their lives. Ode to Carl Riddle. Oh my goodness, snakes alive! Carl S. Riddle is 85. Born in Unionville, don't you know, in land that borders on Lake Monroe. Left the farm after school to Indiana State. He's no fool. Legendary coach Curtis sought him to be on the floor, setting up plays and raising the score. He loved school and his country, too. Became a Marine in Kalamazoo. The war was over. He was not sad, 'cause now he'd lead many a quarry lad. He led guys like Wilbur and Cooter and others. They were more than a team, those athletic brothers. Everyone liked Mr. Riddle with that number 12 shoe, but Honey Creek High wanted him too. Then came North Vigo. After administrative hiatus, he said, I'll make this school so no one can beat us. He was head patriot in his red, white, and blue, known to wear overalls after a victory or two. When he faced students, you could hear them cheer. No wonder he became Indiana Principal of the Year. The years passed quickly, and he had to yield, but they remembered him fondly on their football field. Then Gosport called to head their school. They knew that this guy knew how to rule. Now he raises tomatoes and passes them around, the best in town from fertile river ground. A sharp moment now and then may have caused a bit of strife, but in the big picture, it's been a good life. His school life continued, a long way to go. Led future principals so they would know. So his influence remains far and wide, with a gal named Ann proudly by his side. Here's to my pal, colleague, and friend. It's been my privilege, but that's not the end. As we look to the west and see the sun, there's fishing and growing and reminiscing to be done. So let's dispose of this drivel, although fun it may be, and look to the future and see what we can see. And then Ode to Ann Riddle. 'Tis the end of November, 90 candles glow. It's Ann's birthday, don't you know? They shine on a life that glowed through the years, reflecting on others, sharing joys and cheers. She began to sparkle at old Garfield High, turned a lot of heads when she walked by. College was interrupted when a handsome fellow caught her attention. He really was mellow. Now she's a Marine wife as proud as can be. They make quite a pair, Carl and she. When the war is over, Steinsville makes a call. The Quarry lads needed better basketball. Then on to Gosport, a wife, teacher, and mother. With baby Rex and then Carla, he thought, oh, there's no other. It's not long before they headed home. The principal and teacher would never more roam. She made her mark as the years went by. Language was her forte, her ratings were high. The years raced on with love and success, and Kirsten and Megan, the family was blessed. She was more vocal than social, with North on the floor, when voicing her opinions from the principal's door. So the candles all sparkle, the rooms all aglow, and intensely shining on someone we know. It's her day to enjoy, so lift your glass high. The candles burn and light up the sky. 9 decades glimmer and leave quite a show. But look out, future, she's ready to go. Thank you for joining us for Village Poetry Day, Part 1. I invite you to return next week for Part 2, in which 3 residents who taught poetry or the performance of poetry in their professional lives will share poems of their choosing from the great canon of world poetry. Hey, wait a minute, folks. Kate tells me we have time for just one more little bit of whimsy. So, here's something from Gilbert and Sullivan. This is W.S. Gilbert's A Nightmare. When you're lying awake with a dismal headache and repose is tabooed by anxiety, I conceive you may use any language you choose to indulge in without impropriety. For your brain is on fire, the bedclothes conspire of usual slumber to plunder you. First your counterpane goes and uncovers your toes, and your sheet slips demurely from under you. Then the blanketing tickles. You feel like mixed pickles, so terribly sharp is the pricking. And you're hot, and you're cross, and you tumble and toss till there's nothing twixt you and the ticking. Then the bedclothes all creep to the ground in a heap, and you pick 'em all up in a tangle. Next your pillow resigns and politely declines to remain at its usual angle. Well, you get some repose in the form of a doze with hot eyeballs and head ever aching, but your slumbering teems with such horrible dreams that you're very much better be waking. For you dream you are crossing the channel and tossing about in a steamer from Harwich, which is something between a large bathing machine and a very small second-class carriage. And you're giving a treat, penny ice and cold meat, to a party of friends and relations. They're a ravenous horde, and they all came on board at Sloane Square and South Kensington stations. And bound on that journey, you find your attorney, who started this morning from Devon. He's a bit undersized, and you don't feel surprised when he tells you he's only 11. Well, you're driving like mad with this singular lad. By the by, the ship's now a 4-wheeler. And you're playing round games, and he calls you bad names when you tell him that ties pay the dealer. But this you can't stand, so you throw up your hand, and you find you're as cold as an icicle. In your shirt and your socks, the black silk with gold clocks, crossing Salisbury Plain on a bicycle. And he and the crew are on bicycles too, which they've somehow or other invested in. And he's telling the tars all the particulars of a company he's interested in. It's a scheme of devices to get, at low prices, all goods from cough mixtures to cables, which tickle the sailors by treating retailers as though they were all vegetables. You get a good spadesman to plant a small tradesman, first take off his boots with a boot tree, and his legs will take root, and his fingers will shoot, and they'll blossom and bud like a fruit tree. From the greengrocer tree you get grapes and green pea, cauliflower, pineapple, and cranberries, while the pastry cook plant cherry brandy will grant apple puffs, 3 corners, and banberries. The shares are a penny, and ever so many are taken by Rothschild and Baring, and just as a few are allotted to you, you awake with a shudder, despairing. You're a regular wreck with a crick in your neck, and no wonder you snore, for your head's on the floor, and you've needles and pins from your soles to your shins, and your flesh is a creep, for your left leg's asleep, and you've cramp in your toes, and a fly on your nose, and some fluff in your lung, and a feverish tongue, and a thirst that's intense, and a general sense that you haven't been sleeping in clover. But the darkness has passed, and it's daylight at last, and the night has been long. Ditto, ditto my song, and thank goodness they're both of them over. Thank you.